When you're working around electricity, what you wear is so much more than just clothes. It's your armor. But how do you pick the right armor for a danger you can't even see? Well, let's dive right in and figure out how to choose the right ARC-rated personal protective equipment, or PPE.
2,000 plus. That's how many people every single year are admitted to burn centers because of severe arc flash burns. This isn't some rare freak accident. It's a very real and very present danger on the job.
And this is the key. You know, we often think about the danger of getting shocked, but the data tells a different story. It's the incredible, explosive heat from an arc flash that causes the most devastating injuries. And that's exactly the hazard we're focusing on today. So here's our game plan. First, we'll get real about arc flash. Then we'll walk through the official safety framework, the rules of the road. After that, we get hands-on. How to size up the hazard, how to match your gear to that specific hazard, and finally, where that gear fits into the bigger picture of total safety.
Okay, so with that 2,000 plus number still fresh in our minds, let's just be crystal clear about why we're here. Really understanding the reality of an arc flash, that's step one. It's what makes you respect the hazard and take every single precaution seriously.
Now, the good news is, we're not just guessing here. There's a whole system, a whole framework designed to keep people safe. And that brings us to the absolute bedrock standard for electrical safety.
This right here is the Bible, NFPA 70E. It's the official rulebook that lays out all the essential guidelines for working safely around electricity. It's the standard that literally draws the lines between a safe space and a danger zone.
So the first and most important line for a burn hazard is the arc flash boundary. You can think of it like the invisible fence of a danger zone. The moment you step over this line, the heat energy is high enough to give you a nasty second-degree burn. So this is where wearing proper ARC-rated PPE goes from being a good idea to being absolutely mandatory. All right, so that's the burn hazard. Now let's talk about the shock hazard, which is a different thing. The first boundary here is the limited approach boundary. Inside this zone, a shock hazard is officially present, so access is restricted. Only trained, qualified persons are allowed in by themselves. And as you get even closer, you cross another line, the restricted approach boundary. Here, the risk of shock goes way up, and the rules get even stricter. Only qualified persons can enter this space, period. No escorts, no exceptions. Now, we've used this term qualified person a few times, so what does it actually mean? It's not just about being experienced. The official definition is really important. It means you have two things. One, the skills and knowledge about the equipment itself, and two, you've had specific safety training to see the dangers and, most importantly, to avoid them. It's a two-part deal. Okay, we know the rules, we know the boundaries, but how do we apply all this in the real world, on a real job? Let's talk about how to actually assess the risk for any given task. And here is the single most important rule. You never, ever guess. Before anyone touches anything, an arc flash risk assessment has to be done. It's a formal process to figure out the specific hazards and decide exactly what protection you need to do the job safely. Now, NFPA 70E gives us two main ways to pick the right PPE. The first is the incident energy analysis method. This is the super detailed, engineering-heavy approach where you calculate the exact energy exposure. The other method, and the one we're going to focus on, is the arc flash PPE Category Method. This simplifies things by using tables that match common jobs to one of 4 PPE categories. All right, now for the main event. This is why we're here. We've assessed our risk, we have a PPE category number, so what do we actually need to put on? Let's match the gear to the job.
First things first, you have to know the most important term on your gear, arc rating. This number, measured in calories per centimeter squared, tells you exactly how much heat the material can take before you get a second-degree burn. And here's a super critical point. All arc-rated clothing is also flame-resistant. But, and this is a big but, not all flame-resistant clothing is arc-rated. Huge difference.
Okay, let's start with the gear for the lower-risk jobs. Now, lower risk doesn't mean no risk, but these are the categories you're probably going to encounter most often. So for Category 1, you need gear with a minimum arc rating of 4. That means you're wearing an arc-rated long-sleeve shirt and pants, or a coverall, plus an arc-rated face shield. Now, watch what happens when we step up to Category 2. The minimum rating doubles to 8. The basic clothing is similar, but look at the head protection. It gets a serious upgrade. Now you need a full flash suit hood or a face shield plus a balaclava to make sure your head and neck are totally covered. Okay, time to level up. Now we're getting into the kind of protection you need for jobs where the potential energy release is way, way higher.
The jump here is huge. For Category 3, the minimum arc rating skyrockets to 25. For Category 4, it's a whopping 40. And notice the language here has changed. It doesn't just list items anymore. It says full AR system. That's because at this level, you need a complete, layered suit where every single piece is designed to work together to give you total body protection.
And just so you know, we're not just pulling these numbers out of thin air. All of these requirements are laid out, black and white, right in the NFPA 70E standard. It's the official source, the final word on what gear you need.
So you've picked your armor, you're geared up. But does that mean you're safe? Not quite, because the best armor in the world won't help you if your strategy is wrong. PPE is just one part of a much bigger safety culture.
I really need to hammer this point home. Your PPE is your last line of defense. A true culture of safety always tries to get rid of the hazard first. If you can't, then you use procedures. Things like training, job briefings, and lockout/tagout, all the stuff outlined in your worksite safety protocols. It's only after you've done all that that you finally rely on your armor.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty important question to think about. When you look at your own safety practices, is your PPE truly the last resort? Or has it accidentally become the foundation of your whole safety plan? The answer to that question, well, that could make all the difference in the world.